Call the regular city council meeting of July 1st, 2020 to order at 7 p.m. Join me in pledging the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Mayor Copeland,
Here.
Tom Baylor,
Here.
Kathy Sherman is absent, Jeff Gard is absent, Melina Meyer is absent, Ann Schaefer,
Here.
David Allison,
Here.
David Gleason.
I'm here.
That is 4. Quorum.
Have a quorum. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections to the regular agenda? Hearing none, they'll stand approved as submitted. Does council have any conflicts of interest or ex parte communications to disclose? Let the record reflect that Councilman Sherman is present. Incident management team update. Do we have anyone on the line to provide an update?
Yeah, this is Paul. I don't have anything right now.
I think Dr. Sanders.
Okay, Dr. Sanders.
The only update is that, as everybody knows, the ferry service is starting back up, which is very exciting and has been an anticipated event. We do not need testing for it. The ferry is going to be screening all of the oncoming passengers prior to getting on the ferry, so they're pre-screened. So we feel that the Cordova ferry terminal is a safe point in terms of that entry. We will be providing testing for the ferry workers themselves, but otherwise we feel ready and are happy that they're restarting. There's nothing else to add in terms of the COVID prep or anything going on.
Are there any questions, Council, of Paul or Dr. Sanders? Okay, hearing none. Councilman Baylor and Councilman Schaefer, for you online. In the room here, we have myself, of course, Councilman Allison, Gleason, and Sherman. Also, City Planner Leif is covering the phones for us tonight, and City Finance Manager Ken, and Manager Helen, and City Clerk Susan. So that's who we have in the audience here. So we'll go to the phones now for any audience comments. That number is 253-6202. And there's a bit of a lag here, so 253-6202 is that number again for audience comments. While we're waiting, do we have any chairpersons of boards or commissions online for CCMC Authority Board?
I could give a quick update.
Yeah, we'd appreciate that, Dr. Sanders.
So the hospital, as everybody knows, we've been really working hard to provide testing and all of our COVID preparation. In addition, I had promised that as soon as I had more information regarding our funding for the rest of the 2020, I do not think or anticipate any budget shortfalls or needing to ask for any more funding from the city for the third or fourth quarter. We had some operational money that was freed up from the PPP loan or grant, and so I think that the hospital is going to be self-sufficient for the rest of the year.
It's great news, Dr. Sanders. Is there any questions, Council? Okay, again, for the public, we are waiting for any call-ins for public comments, 253-6202. Hopefully the silence means everybody's out enjoying the sun. Do we have a school board representative report? Okay, hearing none, we do have our student council representatives on vacation at this time, so there's 3 items on the consent calendar. Would council like to set any of those aside to consider separately? And as the city clerk mentioned, the minutes are now contained in the consent calendar. So roll call vote on the consent calendar, please.
Jeff Gard is absent. Ann Schaefer,
Yes.
Melina Meyer is absent. David Allison,
Yes.
Kathy Sherman,
Yes.
David Gleason,
Yes.
Tom Baylor.
Yes.
Consent calendar is approved.
Okay, reports to officers. I'm going to keep mine uber brief. I have had a lot of dialogue regarding fisheries, working with the incident management team in various items. The one I wanted to bring to council's attention is in a recent correspondence with Congressman Young's office. Encouraged him to visit Cordova. It's been quite some time since he's been here, not in my memory actually, and he did schedule a visit on August 10th and 11th. So he'll be in Cordova, coming in on 66 that night and leave on 66 the next night. So we'll work on an appropriate greeting and kind of an overview of Cordova issues and so forth. Unless there's any questions, I'll turn it over to Manager Howarth for her report.
So finally, I'm able to report on something other than COVID today. First and foremost, as most of you probably all know, is that yesterday we bid a fond adieu to Chief Hicks, who has retired from the police force. We had a really nice little community adieu yesterday at the station there. And it was well attended, and I think he felt very, very, very grateful for all of the support he's received from the community on his departure. I've appointed an interim chief because, as you all know, we have an opportunity now. There's been a lot of community dialogue throughout the nation on what does policing mean to various communities. And so I'm going to take advantage of that, of Chief Hicks leaving and the national dialogue to see what this community would like to see with policing. And as we head into budget time and are looking at adding officers or maybe shifting our some resources around, it would be really good to have the community engaged in that. So we'll be doing that over the next month. I've got Shelley Wade with Agnew Beck, who is really familiar with the community, working on that, as well as our PR contractor, Heidi Embley. So it won't be a big budget item. What we're going to do as best as we can to reach out into the community with volunteer help and others. So that will be coming up. The second thing is we've had a number of folks over the years talk to us about using our parking lot out front, our public space out front for activities. Black Lives Matter, there was a couple of parades or marches, I guess is the right word, that started in our public parking lot out front of City Hall and ended there with folks having conversation and others. We also had a Recall Dunleavy group that wanted to set up a table for drive-through signatures. And there's been other groups as well. And I think what I would like to do, unless there's opposition on the part of council, is to actually establish that front area as a public square to encourage conversation of all the diverse topics that our community wants to share. We would identify a day of the week that people could use that space. They could sign up for that space and use it for anything that wasn't going to cause issues for the community. So I think it's a really good opportunity for us to have a platform place, if you will. Any public space is and can be used by the public, and to legitimize a particular space so that there isn't a conflict or a perceived conflict between community and City Hall and what we are endorsing or not. We're just letting people use a public space and asking that it be that they legitimize it by requesting permission to use it under parameters that we would set. So that, I think, is a relatively easy way of accommodating diverse community needs and also maybe mitigating conflict that might occur with folks who think we as city are endorsing a particular political platform of any kind. So that's what I'd like to do. I'll take feedback on that if there's any, either here today or you can just share with me if you think that's not an idea to pursue. And the third and final thing is that, as everyone is probably well aware, the fishing has been a little skinny And budgets are a little skinny, and we got word through CDFU and others that Fish and Game was not going to be able to fly as often as they would like, and that because of that, there would probably be more conservative management in the Sound for the pink fishery. So I have been reaching out to others to try to get a $20,000 flying fish fund together, which CDFU will manage, and it will allow Department of Fish and Game to fly at the levels that they feel would be necessary in order to adequately manage and allow opportunity for fishermen. So that's the three things I've been working on the last couple of days, and COVID obviously is still front and center. And as Dr. Sanders reported, the ferry is getting ready to start. We've hired a couple more ambassadors. We're doing testing at the airport. And I think we should all celebrate the fact that we still don't have any community cases. So everybody's doing a great job, and I want to say thanks.
Councilman Allison.
Yeah, regarding the fishing and flying thing, I would think that the processors would jump on that opportunity to support that. And in fact, I know at least some of the processors have their own pilots and planes and
Yep.
fly regularly and contracts, and maybe a Fish and Game person can jump on board and go flying with them too, and it might not cost as much if they're already doing it. So
Right.
anyway, but I certainly think that we should approach them. I'm pretty sure they're probably well aware of the
Yeah.
situation with Fish and Game already themselves. Regarding the public square thing, I think we just need to be careful that we are not condoning one way or the other. I certainly don't. Well, put it this way: if I was Governor Dunleavy and I was making a decision on Cordova, and I see on Facebook or social media or in the newspaper that the city is supporting the recall Dunleavy thing, and he has to make a decision on whether or not to give Cordova this or that, then that can sway their decision. So we need to be real careful that we're not. And that's just an example. There can be many others. And my second thought on that is if we're condoning it and signing people up for it, what liability does that give us to, if somebody was to get hurt there, or, the legal liability of actually condoning it and signing people up for that. So I just think we need to be cautious. And that I know that we want to support any and all comers that want a place to gather, and but we need to be sure that we're neutral and everybody knows that, and that's advertised, and maybe talk to the newspaper, because it gets into Cordova Times when these things go on, and I certainly don't want the people making decisions about whether or not we get funding or aid or this project or that project to be seeing us as fighting against them. Anyway, those are my thoughts on that.
Comments from online council, Schaefer or Baylor, or questions? Okay, and then there's
Yeah, I got one.
Councilman Baylor.
Yeah, and about hiring Shelley Wade, you just said there's no fish, which means no taxes. I think spending money on a non-issue like policing is probably not the best use of our money right now. I think we're going to have a pretty tight budget. I mean, basically, we've been doing without a number of officers. So if any discussions we had, we replace officers that we've had in the past. But I don't see any big important issue facing that. And we really don't have the money to be throwing that around. The other thing is the public square idea. It sounds interesting. But I was pretty disappointed, and I think I mentioned this to the city manager a couple of times, that City Hall cannot be used to endorse or to try to recall any politician. It's totally a viable spot to have host somebody like Don Young or anybody else that's running for office and come in, and the public can discussed, and they can give out their thoughts and ideas. I mean, that's a great use of City Hall. And when you do that, normally you give, if there's two people running for an office, you give them both that opportunity. But to have an independent person come in there and start advocating for one politician over another, especially after it's in office, I don't think that's where City Council and the City of Cordova should be going. We need to stay neutral, and that's exactly what our lobbyists told us a couple of years ago when we had somebody running for office, and they had support of the City Council, and they asked us, well, should we write a letter or endorse them? And his response is, only if you can guarantee that they'll win. So we need to be smart about that sort of thing. And that's all I have. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Baylor. Any other comments? Councilman Sherman, then Gleason.
Sure. Thanks, Helen, for the report. I actually am going to probably disagree with Mr. Baylor. I think it's a great idea that we're going to be able to take the time and rethink our policing in our community. It's always been an issue, whether we have too many officers, too little officers. And the one thing that I remember about Chief Hicks is when he first came to Cordova, he walked the streets. He walked the streets with the other officers who were here. Officer Taylor was here. And that was when policing was effective in our community because they knew people, they interacted with people, and that's the kind of policing I believe that we need in our community as well as many other communities in the country. So I don't have a problem with that. I think it's a really good idea to get community opinion, not just council opinion, and see if we can work our budget a little bit differently. I think maybe they're just like every other community in the country, we might not need some of the items that our police are requesting if we spend money in other areas of our community. And then as to the public square idea, I like that. I know when we were starting the Cordova Center, it was Cordova Community Center, and we were working to make it a place where the community could have a voice at all times. So I don't look at it necessarily as a building that houses just City Hall, but it's a community facility. So I like the idea of public square, and there are Cordova Center policies. Maybe that's something we could bring before council and work together on that. It was a group that formed those policies. Early on, we've updated them up until the point I think I retired. But that's a good place that we could, and there's other issues too, not just political, but religious. And there are quandaries out there, you know, that you kind of have to address. So I like that. And that was all I was going to add.
Councilman Gleason.
Yeah, a little different subject. I was watching the news right after I got back from Main Bay, and on there was a doctor, and I can't remember her name now, but she mentioned that communities that implemented a face mask rule early were seeing way less COVID cases, and that their research shows that it's at a minimum reduces the risk by up to 50%. So I thought that was something positive about our face mask rule that we implemented early on. So I just thought I'd mention that.
Okay, any other questions for City Manager or comments on her report? Hearing none, City Clerk's report.
Hi, this is Councilman Schaefer.
Yes, Councilman Schaefer.
Sorry, I couldn't get to my mute button yes, before. I just wanted to say that I also think the town square idea, I like that idea, and I think having a policy about it, like Helen was suggesting, would clarify that, it's not necessarily, the actions aren't and views aren't necessarily supported by City Hall, but it's just like this free speech zone or a public space that can be used by the public. So I think having something official, like what she was talking about, requesting use of the space, would help clarify that and help clear up any misunderstandings
should they arise. And I also think that it's a good time to rethink or, look at how we have policing in Cordova, and maybe we'll get through all this and we'll keep going on in the same model and the same way that we are, but I don't think it hurts to have the community conversation. So good job, Helen, and keep it up.
Okay, thank you, Council. Clerk's report.
We're trying to set a record. I don't have anything tonight.
Okay. Correspondence is noted. Is there any online council comments? Schaefer or Baylor?
None here.
Nope.
Any comments or notes from council here in the room? Councilman Ellison.
Yeah, I guess I would, regarding the kelp cultivations around this side of the sound, I would defer to the fishermen on whether those are in an area that's used for other things. So I didn't see any real conflicts from my view of it, but I just run a puker boat a little bit out there, so I don't frequent it that often. So.
We don't actually have the pictures on that one.
I think
Because it's been in once, and
Oh,
now
okay.
it's at the
The same
point of
one.
public comment, and the link is in here, so I didn't have to include those
Okay.
50 pages
Those
like I
were-
did.
yeah, great, thank you. And I'm pretty sure I've heard CDFU make comments on these. They also vet these, right, on behalf of the fleets, and
Yeah,
so.
they're okay. I mean, they're in big base.
Mhm.
There was like 6 of them, I think.
And definitely a lot, and they keep coming. There's another one
Yeah.
coming at the next one. I mean, I keep getting notices. So what I've been doing is when I get the preliminary notice, which is the agency review, which is, the city is an agency, is like 20 days. And that's when I put everything in. Then if it gets to the next step, it goes to public, which is for 60 days. And now that's open for this one.
I will cheat a little comment in as a mayor's report. This is one area, aquaculture, mariculture, where there's been pretty broad-based support, everything from sport fishing community to Commissioner Lang has mentioned several times, and he reiterated it when he visited Cordova last week, that he really sees opportunities there and sees the Prince William Sound Science Center in particular as a potential statewide center of excellence to around the science and whatnot that goes into the kelp biology and to support the mariculture industry, shellfish farming. So I pass that on for council. We have resolution 07-20-30 for council to consider. That's a resolution of the Council of the City of Cordova, Alaska, authorizing the city manager to enter into a sole source contract with Arctic IT for up to $82,000 for the purpose of purchasing laptop computers and upgrading technology for the city of Cordova.
So move,
Second?
We have a motion, a second. Council, would you like a brief comment from the manager?
please.
Okay, this resolution comes after your discussion last week about the different types of projects, big projects that we felt that city needed to undertake to help us with our current COVID response and future emergencies. And everyone who's been involved in this response knows how lacking our technology has been, especially with these online meetings and phone-in meetings. So the phone system we have is over 10 years old. It doesn't have any of the latest and greatest connectivity. It doesn't allow us to work remotely. So we had put in the budget two $50,000 buckets, if you will, one for phones and one for technology. We went out to bid and got a quote back from the phone company saying that it would be around 10 grand to do that, but we needed internet connectivity of a kind, or connectivity of a kind that we didn't have. So Arctic IT, of the 100,000 we budgeted for our upgraded technology, their contract looks to be around 82,000, and that will both upgrade our technology, our computer technology, but also the phone technology that's needed. And then there'll be a $10,000 contract with a telephone provider that will actually upgrade the devices that we have throughout City Hall. So This particular contract just augments the current contract we have with Arctic IT and will allow us to have laptop computers for critical staff so that they can work remotely if necessary, and will upgrade the technology available in this building and throughout city facilities so that we can access better communications.
Okay, to your motion, Councilman Ellison?
Yeah, I support the motion. Just want to be sure that we're getting the latest models and not last year's models. We don't want to be behind
10 years ago?
we get started. So anyway, but obviously communications is an issue for us, and we need to get it fixed while we can.
And just to be clear, this will be CARES money that we'll be spending to purchase this.
Councilman Sherman, to your second.
Sure. Well, Councilman Allison and I go way back on communications for the city. And I know prior to retiring, this was something we had tried to get into the budget and to be able to upgrade and the phone systems. And we've been working closely with CTC. And anyway, I'm all in favor of this, and what a great opportunity.
Discussion, Councilman Baylor?
No, I support it.
Councilman Schaefer?
I'll support it.
Councilman Gleason?
Yep, support it.
Sounds like we're ready for a roll call vote.
Melina Meyer is absent. Jeff Gard is absent. Ann Schaefer,
Yes.
David Gleason,
Yes.
Tom Baylor,
Yes.
Kathy Sherman,
Yes.
David Allison.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Council, we don't have any unfinished business on the agenda. Under new and miscellaneous business, we have this discussion item for COVID-19 emergency response. Are there any comments? And I'll just go to online. Council Schaefer.
No, my only comment right now is basically to commend the community for doing such a good job and not wearing their masks, washing their hands, keeping distance from large groups of people. It's easy to get complacent, especially when we haven't had many cases in town. So don't get complacent, especially with the 4th of July weekend coming up, and keep it up. So yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Councilman Baylor, COVID-19 discussion.
Yeah, I'm interested in where we're at, some of the projects that we talked about for the harbor and the boat haul out. We're talking some bathrooms and some other projects. Hopefully those are still moving forward, and we probably need to get those out bid as soon as we can. I don't know where the manager is on that, but I think keeping us up to date and moving forward with that is important.
Discussion, council, in the room here. Okay, seeing none. Next item is pending agenda. So our next regular meeting would be July 15th.
Yes.
And council, we sometimes, during the summer, just have one meeting a month. I'm not sure if staff has any time-sensitive items there or what the will of council is if we go ahead and schedule that July meeting.
Sounds good to me.
I think Sam has stuff, and then you might have more COVID stuff coming through.
So we may need a special meeting to deal with, and this speaks to Baylor's question around projects that we are pursuing to try to get in front of you for approval, especially if they're over 25,000. So what we will attempt to do is kind of consolidate those. We could do a special new meeting to get approvals on those. That is something that we're just going to have to be just ongoing, getting going.
Sure.
But we can definitely avoid a big meeting, a regular meeting.
Okay. Are you suggesting we schedule one like for next Wednesday or the following Wednesday, or just kind of play it by ear?
We could play it by ear.
Okay, perfect.
So let's call the regular meeting canceled and possibly we'd have a special, ideally, let's go in 2 weeks on the 15th anyway, but it could be a noon special
Right.
meeting.
And the special meeting, advertising requirements and everything are the same as a regular meeting, right?
And the special meeting I can do within 24.
Okay,
I mean, if
all
we
right.
have a lot of regular agenda type items on it, I'll
Mm-hmm.
try to do it a little bit more like on the Friday or the Monday instead of the Tuesday for a
Okay.
Wednesday.
Fair enough.
But as long as we're telling the public now
Yeah.
that that's going to be coming up in the future.
So typically, we wouldn't have a second meeting. We're kind of splitting the difference because of all the COVID business that kind of crops up on its own schedule. We'll anticipate a special meeting, but not a regular meeting this time.
Sounds good.
Other items for pending agenda, council?
Just maybe an update from Bert on things, how they're doing. I don't know if you talked to them at all or.
Thank you. I'm glad you mentioned that. So there was a CCMC Authority Board meeting today. Helen and I had both talked with Greg. It's been a good open dialogue. Helen and I have been trying to stay out of their way, basically. They had that meeting mostly to just discuss openly with the hospital staff, the ongoing discussions with NBE. I think we are anticipating at some point some type of letter of offer, so those discussions are going well. And well enough that I don't think Greg felt that he needed to come and give a report tonight, so.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's working out just as council had anticipated. They're just ongoing discussions without any pressure, side chatter, so. All right, audience participation. We'll open the line again at 253-6202. And while we're waiting to see if anyone wants to call in, we can go ahead with council comments, and we'll start with our online councilman, Councilman Schaefer.
No comment for me. Thank you.
Councilman Baylor.
Yeah, thanks staff, everybody for their work, and let's be careful about this budget that we have because we know we're going to be short on sales tax. And then on the flip side of that, let's see if we can't get that COVID money into some projects because that brings money into town for a lot of people working here. So I think we can get some of these projects done if we get them out to bid. Thanks.
Councilman Sherman.
Anyway, I appreciate everybody's work that's going on. I know there's a lot going on behind the scenes, and you can see that in the town. And I was out and about today. Don't do that very often, but lots of masks, and I appreciated that. And it was really fun to try and guess if people were smiling at you under their masks. And just, this is a complete side note, but the Cordova Historical Society today was bid on a 1935 Jules Dogger original painting, oil painting on board of the Copper River Valley, our back out the road. And we were able to obtain it at the minimum low bid. So pretty excited about that. And that brings up our collection to some more great standards, so.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Councilman Gleason, comments.
Just brief, thanks to the community for their vigilance, following the protocols, and the medical staff and Alanka and CCMC for making the testing procedure super easy. So that's much appreciated.
And Councilman Allison.
Yeah, I too thank everybody for the efforts they've been doing, and just want to, I guess, mention for the public, and congratulations to the Kristen and the Economic Development.
Yes.
Prince William Sound Economic Development, whatever it's called, in their $400,000 grant that they received to help economic development in our region. But that'll bring more money into the community as well. So
Yeah.
Nice.
Thank you for mentioning that. That's great. Okay, council, we haven't had any public comment tonight. It doesn't surprise me with a light agenda and the beautiful weather, so
Move to adjourn.
Second.
have a motion and a second to adjourn. Is there any objection whatsoever? Okay, have a safe, fun holiday weekend. We're adjourned.
Was it a record?
Who could-
No,
Yeah, I would say.
35, yeah.
No.
35, we've had less than 35
Oh, yeah.
for a regular?
Well, I don't know for regular.
Yeah, for